the election. We'll see what happens after the election. All right, thank you very much, Sarah Murray, reporting. Joining us now, California Democratic Representative John Garamendi. He's a member of the Armed Services Committee. Congressman, thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you, Wolf.
Do you believe Rod Rosenstein's job over at the Justice Department is secure?
Well, what I do believe is that the president wants to stop the Mueller investigation. That's been at least 18, 19 months in process. He's done everything he can to try to stop it, and Rosenstein is in the way. So if I were Rosenstein, I'd be very concerned about what Jim Acosta just said about thin ice and the previous story about global climate change and the Arctic ice melting. It's not a good situation for Rosenstein, and the Mueller investigation is at the heart of the matter, and the president has been very, very clear about what he wants to do about that, and that is terminate it.
Well, why do you think he's kept Rosenstein so far? He must have been furious at that New York Times report.
Well, of course, but there is something just ahead of us. It's called the midterm elections. And if nothing else, the president is calculating. He is a very calculating person. He's looking out there. He wants to make sure that the Congress does not flip. And by the way, yeah, I'll tell you what's going on outside of the Beltway. Outside of the Beltway, there is deep, deep determination, really building off the Million Women March the day after the inaugural. We had an event here in California planned for more than a month and a half to raise money for the red to blue candidates. We expected a good turnout. We got twice the number of people that have never written a political check before in their life, wrote political checks. They are determined, men and women alike, particularly the women, determined to see change, and they're out to change Congress.
We're going to talk about the midterms, but let's get back to Rosenstein for a moment.
Sure.
Ordinarily, the president holding a lengthy meeting with his deputy attorney general wouldn't raise any eyebrows, but given Rosenstein's oversight of the Russia investigation, do you think it was appropriate for him to travel with the president today aboard Air Force One?
Well, these are the kind of questions that will undoubtedly come out if there's ever an open investigation of collusion or conspiracy or efforts to try to shut down an investigation. We really don't know. Do I expect Rosenstein to say what actually occurred in that conversation? No, certainly not in the near term. Perhaps later that'll come out. But right now, I cannot imagine a situation in which the president was not assessing how he could get rid of Rosenstein and then get rid of Mueller.
Do you think it's comparable at all to former President Bill Clinton's boarding the plane of the then Attorney General Loretta Lynch while his wife, Hillary Clinton, was under investigation by the FBI and the Justice Department?
Well, there some similarities? We know that what both the Attorney General and Bill Clinton said took place in that conversation. We can assume that they were accurate and truthful, and we could assume that the president is truthful in his comments about the discussion that he had with Rosenstein. In either case, it raises a lot of questions that have been asked, certainly about Clinton and the Attorney General at that time, and as well as the questions that are now being asked by you to me. I don't know. But in both cases, it was not a good thing to do.
I will note that Hogan Gidley, the deputy White House press secretary, made a point of saying, yes, they met aboard Air Force One in the president's private cabin for about 30 minutes, but other aides were present, meaning other people were witnessing what was going on. It wasn't just a one-on-one meeting between the president and the deputy attorney general. Rosenstein, as you know, he's scheduled to testify behind closed doors later this week. What do you anticipate will emerge, if anything?
Well, I suspect very little that will be useful going forward. The president is undoubtedly being very coy about what he intends to do. But once again, his intention has been for more than a year and a half to stop the Mueller investigation. Rosenstein is a key player in that effort that he has been very persistent about. Can he terminate that investigation with Rosenstein in place? Don't know. Probably not. And therefore, if Rosenstein were to go, either voluntarily or being dismissed, fired, would he be able to appoint somebody in that position that could then take over the control, terminate, or simply redirect or slow down and misdirect the Mueller investigation? Don't know the answer to that, but I'm quite sure the president is thinking through, and perhaps with his assistants, thinking through how he can maneuver to stop the Mueller investigation, and that means Rosenstein is right there with the stop sign.
What did you think of President Trump's remarks earlier today regarding the newest U.S. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh? The president says Kavanaugh was caught up in a hoax that was all set up by Democrats who now want to see Kavanaugh impeached. Is there any truth to the accusation that Democrats, including you in the House of Representatives, want to start some sort of impeachment process against this newest Supreme Court Associate Justice?
Well, you said you, meaning me? No,
no,
you
and your Democratic colleagues.
Well, in all the discussions I've had, which have been several with key people in the party, not with the Democratic leadership in the House, but others, no, an impeachment does not make any sense in the near term or off into the future. Rosenstein's going to be there. The chances of an impeachment ever coming to pass, both in the House as well as in the Senate, is nil, not going to happen. So why waste our time on that? There are critical issues that we need to turn to. We know that the Republicans want to do away with the protections in the Affordable Care Act on pre-existing conditions. We want to turn our attention to that. We want to turn our attention to jobs and good wages. And we want to turn our attention to the other corruption that is existing in Washington, in the president's cabinet, in fundraising. All of those issues are key issues that we want to turn our attention to. So if we are to take back the House, we're going to focus on things that are meaningful to the families of America. And I can assure you that the impeachment of Kavanaugh has no meaning to the people I've been talking to out here in California in this red-purple district that I get to represent.
Congressman Garamendi, thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Up next, we'll have more on the political aftershocks from Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation fight.